Good morning, friends and family. Today is February the 10th, and today I'm going to be doing a few chores around the house, around the yard, and in the garden. A few things need to be handled pretty quickly. I'm going to show you what right now. I bought these asparagus crowns from Stark Brothers Nursery. And they've been sitting here probably a little too long waiting for me to get a space prepared for them. So that's what I'm going to do today. And I believe the instructions said to go ahead and soak these in some water for a little while before you plant them. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I also have another bundle of onions from Dixondale Farms. These are Walla Walla onions. A few days ago I planted another bundle out there that were Texas super sweet onions. Anyway, so I need to finish preparing the bed for these as well. I started yesterday. I harvested some of our compost by sifting it. And I put that down so it's all ready. So I'm going to be planting these today as well. And behind me here, I wanted to share with you some of the things that we have already started for this coming growing season. Right now, I have beets starting to sprout here. And I have thyme and oregano and stevia, lemon balm, tarragon, valerian. I have quite a bit of lavender here, and yarrow and calendula. And in here, these are some microgreens I started, and I will be eating these in a salad here real soon. Here's some more lavender. It's just starting to come up. See there? I like a lot of lavender in the garden. And then these are some onion seeds I started on January 23rd. These are Texas early grano onions. I'm trying a number of different kinds of onions. Most of them are short day onions, and that's a thing depending on where you live. You either need long day, short day, or I think it's medium day onions. But for where we live here in the high desert of Southern California, we are supposed to be sticking with short day onions, and it has to do with the amount of time, the amount of daylight hours during the growing season. So, but I'm just trying to find the variety that's going to do the best for us and what we like, and for our soil and our specific garden conditions. So, talking about the short day and long day onions, one thing that I just showed you, the Walla Walla onions, they are not short day onions, but that's more of an experiment. Roger really wanted me to grow some more Walla Walla onions, and I said, okay, we'll do that. We did grow them successfully one year out there in another area that we lived in out in Baldy Mesa, and they grew well. So anyways, at least we were told they were Walla Walla onions. So we'll see if they come out or not. I'm hoping that they do grow. Looking at my planting calendar, I'm realizing that I almost forgot to plant the pepper seeds. You'll see some of the things listed there that I just showed you in my seed starting trays, but I did not get my peppers done yet. So that's going to be on the list for today. And I created this planting calendar based on looking up my city and state in the online. When you go to the Old Farmer's Almanac, and you can put your city and state in there, and then look for the planting calendar, and it'll list out all kinds of things that you can plant, and when to plant them, when to start them from seeds, when to plant them outside. And so this is for our area. So take a look in your area and see what you want to plant and when you can do it. And all that information is compiled based on what your average first frost date and your average last frost date are. And here we go. I have the asparagus crowns soaking in some water. And so now I'm going to go out and get the area ready for them. And before we do that, we're going to go feed the chickens. Lucky, you want to go feed the chickies? Huh? You want to go feed the chickies? All right, let's go. Let's go. Yes, so excited. Come here. Give me a toy. Hey, hey, hey. Give me a toy. Hey. Ready? All right, hey, go get it. Good boy. Okay, let's go feed the chickies. Come on, let's go feed the chickies. So this spot right here is where we're going to be working on to put the asparagus. I just dumped a couple of bags of that raised bed mix just to try to get some soil structure here. And I'm going to mix that in, and then I'm going to put some of our homemade compost right where the crowns are, because that's much better soil than what that bag soil is. I know, you girls are so hungry. Good morning. Good morning, chickies. All right, come on. Let's go. Hi, Penny. Good morning, Penny. Now here's the Dixondale onions, the super sweet Texas onions that we planted a few days ago. I don't know if you can see them. They're little. Right down this row. And then on this side, this is where I prepared the bed for this next set of onions. I put down a layer, pretty good thick layer of our homemade compost that I sifted yesterday. Wanted to show you one of the broccoli plants is starting to go to flower. It's going to be producing its seed. I am purposely letting this one go to flower because right now in the garden there's not a whole lot for the beneficial insects and bees to get some pollen. So I do like to let a few of my plants do this. I'll be doing the same with our cilantro as well when we're done getting the harvest that we want to from it. And this is a better view of those onions from this side of the trellis. This is the trellis that we grew all those tomatoes on last year, and we're going to do the same thing again this year. Now this is the clay soil that we're dealing with here and why we're having to put so much organic matter. This is very sticky and very hard when it dries out. Now, I'm pretty happy with that. I used the pitchfork, and what I did was I dug down deep into the soil underneath all that bagged soil and pulled up some of the natural soil and mixed it in. Now this is the only time I'm going to be tilling this area now that I've done it for the first time. Now, a couple of times a year, whenever we have our own compost ready, we'll just put a layer on the top, and the worms will continue to pull that right down into the soil. And especially now that we've created somewhat of a structure for the soil, because I tell you, what you start with here is very, very, very hard. As you can see here, I'm going to go over here to a spot where we haven't done anything yet. And you can see how dry and how compact and hard this soil is. In order for us to break through it, it takes days of soaking, and it takes Roger with a pickaxe out here. So I want you to see, there is no penetrating this soil. I cannot, no matter how hard I push, get my pitchfork or shovel into this soil. It's extremely hard. Now that that bed is ready for the asparagus, what I need to do now is come over here, and I need to get some of our homemade compost. And here's my setup. I have a wagon here, and then I have this frame that we had already. And then Roger made me a sifter, and I set this sifter right on top of the frame. And what this does is it brings out, you hear the girl, she's laying her egg right now. Anyhow, hopefully you can hear me, but this brings it right up to my waist level, so I don't have to kill my back bending over. But what I'm going to do is take the compost out of one of these trash cans, and I'm going to sift it right through that screen. This is a 1/4 inch screen. You can do 1/2 inch as well, but 1/4 inch is what we had. And so we're going to sift it right through here, and the real fine, healthy stuff is going to come out, and we're going to be left with only the big chunks after that. And this compost was put together, all the ingredients were put together at the end of August. And now it's ready to go. But there's still some big chunks in here, especially big wood chips and things like that. And also some larger eggs that didn't quite break down all the way. But as they go through that sifter, they're going to get broken down real small. This also gives me the opportunity to pull out any of the big grub worms that are living in here and breaking down the compost. And then what I do is I throw them right over there to the chickens, and then they have a really good protein snack for the day. But anyway, this doesn't take too long. I can get through one of these trash cans in about an hour, and I'll show you what I end up with at the end. Okay, here's one of those grub worms. Although they do a good job, they come on their own. They're from the, I believe they're like the Japanese beetles or June beetles. I don't know what they're called. Those big iridescent bugs that fly around and try to eat your plants and your trees. Anyway, this is their larva. And this larva does a good job of breaking down compost, but I really don't want it, or I don't want too many of them up around the roots of my plants. So instead, they become feed for the chickens. want to show you. Boy, it's so noisy out here. Anyhow, I want to show you what we have left here in the screen is it's partially broken down, but it's just too chunky for what I want in the garden, especially if I'm trying to do seeds or anything like that. I just don't want too much of this size particle in there. And then what we have in the bottom that came out is this awesome compost. It's a nice texture. It's rich, it's dark, it doesn't stink at all. None of this smells. And it's really good for feeding the soil, which in turn is going to feed your plants. And I'm going to list out all the things at the end of August that we put together to make this compost. And in one of the prior videos, we show a picture of it, but I'll list out what we had. We're trying to use what we have. We're trying not to buy too much. The only thing that went in here that we bought was some alfalfa pellets. Because at the time, our chickens hadn't produced enough compost, or they hadn't produced enough of their poop for us. So we needed some extra green matter, and that's what we did. So anyways, I don't think we're going to be doing that anymore because they are certainly providing enough for us now. And then what I'm going to do with what's left up here that didn't filter through is it's going to go right back in with the next batch of compost that we put together. And more of it will be broken down. It's just a cycle that keeps going. We like to put it right back in because it has microbes all over it. It's going to act like a starter for the next compost. This is my fancy kneeling pad, and I've got the asparagus crowns that have been soaking since I've been out here doing all this. And I've got this little bed here ready. I patted it down firmly, and the instructions say to bury the whole crown a couple inches down and to spread those roots out going downwards. So I'm going to have to dig a trench, and I got to put these about 18 inches apart. And now asparagus, those are perennials. These are going to come back every year, but I won't be able to get a good harvest. If I've done everything right, I won't be able to get a good harvest from them for about 3 years. So the sooner you get started, the better. Hello, Lucky. Hi, baby. Okay, so I was able to fit 6 asparagus crowns here, and anytime I plant anything, I give a good water just to ensure that the soil settles right down around those roots and gives them a really good drink. Now I have 4 more asparagus crowns that didn't fit here, so I was thinking about putting 2 of them right there at the end of that row, and then 2 of them down at the other end of that row. We really don't plant a lot of things right there. And I think that would be a good place to put them. And they can be just left alone to grow back each year. Hi there. Well, I did get those 4 asparagus planted, and they're not sprouting yet, but I'll keep you updated and see how it goes. I also got the Dixondale onions planted. That was the Walla Walla onions. So we'll also be doing some updates about that. And today I wanted to give you guys an update on what I'm doing with sweet potatoes. We've grown sweet potatoes for the last 2 years. I'm getting better at it. The first year was a real struggle. Last year was a lot better, and we ended up with some really huge sweet potatoes. And what I noticed on a couple of my sweet potatoes before we ate them, or before we could eat them, they started sprouting, which is ironic because for the last 2 years, every time I go to sprout my sweet potatoes to make some sweet potato slips, they get, some of them get mushy and they rot, and then some of them don't really produce the sprouts that it needs. And but this year, my sweet potatoes they sprouted on their own. So I just got them a couple days ago, put into some water, and I just wanted to show you what they look like. So here they are. I've got 6 of them. You can see those pretty sprouts on there. And we've even got some new ones starting, like you can see on this one right here. See these little ones starting? What's going to happen is these sprouts are going to grow long. They're going to get more leaves on them. We're probably going to start seeing some roots form. And when they get long enough to where it looks like they're viable to survive, we're going to pop these off and put them down in some water, and they're going to develop their roots more. And when it's warm outside, where I believe we need the weather to be at least 50s at night, and then we're going to plant them outside. I like to plant these in raised beds or in I plant them in raised beds or pots. And what that does, the reason I do that is because the soil is very soft and easy for the sweet potatoes to grow in. And clearly this last year they grew really well because they were really huge. So I'm excited to get those started. I'm going to be putting them in one of the wooden raised beds. And I wanted to mention that in the summertime, especially here in the high desert of Southern California, it's so hot, it's hard to grow lettuce and a lot of the salad greens that you would normally eat in a salad. But sweet potato leaves are really delicious. They're very mild, they're not bitter, and they're highly nutritious. So if you've never tried them, give them a try. Grow some sweet potatoes, or if you know anybody with some sweet potatoes, ask them for some of their leaves and taste them. They're delicious, and but we try not to eat too many of the leaves off of there because it needs some leaves on there to grow us our sweet potatoes. So anyways, I hope you guys are all having a wonderful week, and if you like our content, consider liking and subscribing to our videos. And if you know anybody else who would like it, give our videos a share. And until next time, stay tuned for all the seeds starting that we're going to have. And as this gardening season gets going, and stay tuned for a video about the new raised beds that we're putting in. And so I just want to say God bless you and thank you guys for watching.